If you ask cybersecurity managers what their biggest problems in life are, probably the first one they're going to talk about is budget. The second one is getting the attention of business. And the third one is going to be finding the right team to hire. This is going to be a constant problem. It's been a problem for tens and tens of years. Today, we're going to talk about one of the initiatives from the US government called NIST, ran by the National Institute of Standards and Technology, and how that is going to help build a pipeline of cybersecurity specialists for people to hire in the future. Hello, everybody. I'm Michael Smith. I am a free range CTO, CISO, security manager, engineer, all of that. I am joined by Sam. Sam, who are you?
Hey, Sam Schneider here, your friendly geek, security geek extraordinaire. Let's talk about NICE real quick. That stands for National Initiative for Cybersecurity Education. Here we are on the landing page.
And so, one of the problems with why we can't find cybersecurity practitioners to hire, or why it's so hard to hire people. Some of it is self-inflicted, and we'll talk about that in the future, right? Because we make it actually hard to find people. That's just an industry thing. But one of the reasons why it's hard to find people is that there isn't a lot of entry-level cybersecurity jobs, right? Usually, like even if I hire somebody for to be a SOC operator, I usually want them to have, a couple of years experience inside of systems engineering or systems integration or network operations or application development. I want them to kind of move through the IT world first before they make a jump to cybersecurity,
Yeah.
right?
And everyone's drawn into cybersecurity, right, Mike? I mean, they're drawn into it. You see it in the movies, you see it everywhere around. Everybody's talking about the great payout, how much money you can make in this industry or in this field. And I actually did a BBC commentary piece in 2013 at a national cybersecurity conference that we had here, talking about the fact that the age of cybersecurity professionals was getting older. So there's more and more talent or tribal knowledge that's walking out of the door every single day. And we're having to bring more in. And you're right. A lot of these companies go out here and they expect to have, 10 years of this tool and 10 years of this tool. Absolutely ridiculous, right? So I applaud what NIST is trying to do here and CISA with their build out of this tool. And I really appreciate this topic.
Yeah. So what was your first official cybersecurity job? Because you came from systems engineering, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, it had to be my LAN analyst days, either at Advanced Auto Parts, where we were actually doing a bunch of troubleshooting. We were standing up web pages for the first piece. We were standing up remotely accessed email servers. So this actually kind of rolled into that area, right? We had to
Yeah.
understand what the risk and the threats were in order for us to come back in and remediate or address those. Now, this was before official vulnerability management and all this other stuff. So we were dealing with the traditional scope of risk, like viruses or malware, things like that that are clicked on internally.
Yeah. And then my background, I started in the intelligence world, which is same, but different.
Right.
So I started, as a Russian linguist. Um, and then I taught myself how to build Linux servers, build Linux machines. And then during the .com era, I was building web applications, really LAMP stack programming. So Linux, Apache, PHP, MySQL, or Perl, MySQL. And then kind of the .com era crashed, and I said, hey, wait a minute, I've got a clearance, I've got this security background. I either need to go to California or DC, and 2 weeks later, I had a job in Northern Virginia doing audit and assessment for DITSCAP at the time.
Yeah. Is that where we met?
It was a little bit after that. A little bit after that.
Okay. Because I
Um,
know we had some pretty interesting places when we worked as federal contract resources
yeah.
for a very well known large federal.
There's large federal. They're all large and federal. Um, yeah, but we did it. We did a lot of stuff in and around the federal government. I think I lived in Virginia for a good 10 years, just outside of the DC area. So that takes us to NICE. Okay. And NICE is really, it's got kind of this framework to it and then an output. And I'll show you what those look like, right? So if you go to the NICE website, and I'll put the link in the video, and right here, you've got a link to the NICE framework. That takes you to this page. And this page has two resources. It's a government website, so they're a little bit hard to navigate sometimes. And right here up at the top is a NIST special publication. It's special publication 800-181. And this is actually lays out what are they trying to accomplish with the framework. Okay. And really what their approach is they say, we have a lot of people in the cybersecurity world. They all have different titles. We make up our own titles basically. And so is there a way that we can standardize those job titles, create sort of meta positions, right? So positions that encompass multiple titles, and then standardize or enumerate what kind of tasks or knowledge, skills, and abilities that the people inside of that role has. Okay. And so that's what the special publication does, is it's really just the methodology of how they did it. Also here on the NICE framework page, down here is the NICE framework current version. And you'll actually see there's the link here. That takes you to a spreadsheet. Now, I downloaded the spreadsheet, loaded it up inside of Google Docs here to show you what it looks like. But really, it's a database, okay? Or in this case, it's a spreadsheet. It's a Excel spreadsheet, and it has tabs across the bottom. It has one that is work roles and categories. So this has categories, or what you think of as like overall functions. So oversight and governance has, cybersecurity policy and planning, privacy compliance, program management. Then you have design and development, which is your traditional engineering building stuff. You have implementation and operation. So those are folks, say, network operations center, systems administration. You have protect and defend, or protection and defense, which is where your traditional DFIR, so digital forensics and incident response people fit into. So you have vulnerability analysis. So somebody who comes in and identifies vulnerabilities, right? AKA, that's where your penetration testers fit in. Threat analysis. So that's cyber threat intelligence. So understanding what bad guys do. Okay. They also have investigation, which I always forget about investigation, but that's the the law enforcement side of it. And then they have cyberspace intelligence and then cyberspace effects, which is more of what like US Cyber Command does, right? So it's collecting targets on people that you want to hack, and then actually causing some kind of impact on them. Okay. But for each of these categories, you've got roles inside, and that is in column A. And then over here is you've got the brief description, column B. And over here in column E, you have a link that links to a tab. So let's say cybersecurity policy and planning. You can actually click on that link, and it takes you to the right tab here. And it has what they call TKS, okay, which is tasks, knowledge, and skills. And they have designators for each of them. Some of these cross over. There's actually a one of the tabs has all of the TKS, but it's got the short description of what that TKS is, right? And so that will tell you really for that role, what do people in that role actually do, and what do they need to know?
Well, that's according to what they're putting together with NIST. And I
Yeah.
do applaud, the initial swab at it. I really do. I think it's great that they're moving in this direction. But we used to call these stovepipes, right? These are specific areas of expertise. We would be labeled as a SME in one of these. The reason I say that is because I have a lot of crossover knowledge that I've gained over my career where I've done pieces of all of these. And I think there are a lot of people out there in the field that are the same way. For example, vulnerability management, risk analytics, right? We've all done
Mhm.
that at some level. If you've been in the security game for any amount of time, going out there and actually looking at those CVEs and putting that out there, looking at firewall rules, doing the operational deployments of applications and software, those types of operational tasks. Actually doing threat hunting and analytics on the back end and then reporting. All of this stuff, you come across this at various times during your career. So I get where they're going with this and I actually like it. But I'm also optimistically cautious about this approach. And the reason I say that is this two little letter acronym that everyone's throwing around, and that's AI. And we talked about the fact and the dependence on a lot of these procured types of, specialized list or stovepipes of definitive areas in security. And the last thing you want to do is have a recruiter that gets on there with a AI tool, going out there and qualifying resumes, looking for these 20 things, right? Not everyone's going to have all 20 of these things. I know people in the career field who have had, 20 or more years of experience. They do, 50 things very, very well, but they don't necessarily meet all the criteria on a
Like
specific stovepipe.
like both of us,
Yeah,
right? Like both of
exactly.
us. So like what are we? We're both at 30 years plus.
Yeah,
Depending on how you count, right?
right.
But yeah, right. And so yeah. Um One of the cool things and one of the things why NICE exists is because you can lay down a role, and yes, the role is very, relatively narrowly defined. And you're adding standardization to some amount. But what that does is it allows educators, training agencies, even secondary schools to start adding these
Yeah.
into their curriculum. One of the things, and this was on the NICE website here, is we're recording this in early June of 2024, and next week um, they have a conference for K-12, so kindergarten through 12th grade education, to try to get kids more involved in STEM and in cybersecurity as a career field, simply because it takes so long to grow somebody into the career field. You have to start early. Okay. So it's good, but yeah, like once you categorize stuff, then you can say, wow, you're in this category. And it's really, sometimes it's a detriment because you can stick people into a category and they find it hard to get out of that category.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Um, and so that's the spreadsheet itself. It's kind of interesting to look through, but it's busy, right? Like you can only see so much data at once. And so the folks at CISA um, went out and built this tool. And it's the Cyber Career Pathways tool. It's powered underneath by the NICE framework. Okay. And what you get here is you've got these categories. So you've got IT, cybersecurity, cyber effects, Intel, and then kind of cross-functional, which is the purple. Um, and it's interactive. Okay. Down here at the bottom, you have the individual jobs. So things in blue are traditional IT. So, enterprise architect, database administrator, software developer, system administrator, typical IT roles. The things in green are cybersecurity, like more technical cybersecurity. So you've got, and it's in government speak, so it's a little bit, you have to apply a layer of interpretation to it, right? So vulnerability assessment analyst, that's everybody's favorite job. That's a penetration tester. You've got cyber defense analyst. That's a SOC operator or a security engineer. You've got a cyber defense infrastructure support specialist. That is somebody who is a SIM administrator or even a detection engineer. Okay. So you have those that are cyber. The purple ones are crossover. Some of these are interesting. So, like cyber policy and strategy planner, executive cyber leadership. So, CISOs, ISSMs, even though ISSM is over here on its own, which is definitely a government role. We don't have that in the private sector like ISSM or ISSO. You've got regular IT project management. A couple of these cyber instructor fits here. And there was another one, cyber curriculum developer, right? So somebody who actually creates the materials for training in cybersecurity. Okay. Now the interesting thing, and I think Sam, you touched on this, is we have hybrid roles, right? So if I look at what do I do today, well, I do a lot of stuff. So I'm in executive leadership, yeah. Occasionally I'm doing cyber defense analyst. Occasionally I'm doing database administrator. I'm doing a lot of data collection and dumping it into a database. I'm doing a little bit of software development, specifically for testing tools, or some like light, what do we call it? Like, adversarial, well,
Bullying?
what do they call it? Like basically you make activity that looks like it's a bad guy. I'm drawing a blank on what the name of it is.
I would do adversarial modeling and
Yeah.
creation. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So like I do a little bit of that.
Threat modeling.
Occasionally from time to time I'm doing cyber instruction.
It's threat
Oh,
modeling.
threat. It's not threat modeling. It's adversarial simulation.
Ah, there you go.
There you go. So doing, or like even purple teaming is adversarial simulation. You're just doing it with people instead of, tools like I do. Okay. What do you got? You've had some weird jobs.
Yeah, yeah. So, the last 10 years I've been doing sales engineer, security engineer type of hybrid roles with different companies, security focused companies. And what my job is really going in and understanding the layout of the tools, understanding their business, how they conduct their business, and then through a in-depth type of Q&A process, trying to understand what their risks are at a very high level.
Mhm.
Obviously, because I don't have access to their systems, I can't do a deep dive. I'm not looking at, patch vulnerability and patch management or anything on the back end. Their firewalling rules, their, security policies, not looking at any of that necessarily. But at a very high level, I'm listening to a CISO, I'm listening to a security manager, I'm listening to a network manager, and helping them, listening to what they have to say. I'm trying to understand what their challenges are, and at the end of the day, see if we have something that we can help them address one of those issues with.
Yeah. So that fits into like security architect
It's
could be.
architect. It's
And
architect with
this thing we
operations.
call information system security developer, which is like a security engineer,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. Absolutely.
But that's another point, which is this is designed mostly for government roles, right? And so in the government, you don't have sales, you don't have sales engineers,
Right. Yeah.
right?
So obviously, my role is not going to be in here, right
Mhm.
off the bat. But there are pieces and components of it that feed into what I do.
Yeah.
Right. So I like it as a good first start.
Mhm.
But like I said, I was cautiously optimistic. I'm sure it'll get better over time.
You said optimistically cautious
Yes,
before. So
cautiously optimistic, optimistically cautious. There
cautious.
you go.
Yep. Fair. Fair. Now, yeah, and there was Deidre Diamond, who runs Cyber SN, which is
Yeah,
they're what are they, recruiting, outsourced recruiting partner.
yeah.
One of the things that she gives presentations on is that the fact that we make it hard to hire people because we only have enough budget for one person, but really we need 4 or 5 jobs done, right? So pretty much, I think across the board, unless you're doing pure operations, which is pretty much a full-time job, the rest of us are working 4 or 5 different jobs, and we change from hour to hour, on which of these jobs that we do. And so as a security manager, I'm looking at what's the aggregate skill across my team, and where do I maybe have holes so that I can find somebody who can do, if I can find somebody who can do 2 out of the 5 jobs that I need done, and then we figure out how to upskill them to the other 3. Okay, that's really like what my hiring
Well,
strategy
that's
is.
that's really what it's all about, right? As a
Mhm.
manager, you need to understand the makeup of your team,
Yeah.
what their skill sets are, where you have some type of cross threading that you can actually pull in more than one resource or backfill a resource if necessary, and then where do I need to actually cross train team members who are not there yet, right?
Yeah.
Who has an interest in it, who really wants to do it, because there are a lot of cool things in cybersecurity, especially. And people are willing to roll up their sleeves and do some training. But, it has been, at least the last couple of companies I've been in, and I've been in some smaller startups, um, getting that career path development and actually learning those skills or being trained on those skills, they look at it as a detriment as opposed to a necessary part of operational security or
Yeah.
operational stability
Well,
even.
it's just things change, right? We have the chaos engine that we deal with daily, and like new things pop out.
Right. No, that
Mhm.
that's very true. And you can be thrown into something very quickly in this career field, and learn on the wire. It's gonna be a tough road to hoe, but you got to learn on the wire.
Fair. So let's get back into this a little bit. In that this is interactive, right? So you've seen this as I mouse over stuff. Some jobs are related to other jobs. So as you mouse over one of these jobs, you'll see the lines that are created. Those are a connection to other roles that are associated, or like that are connected or have some kind of overlap with that role. You can also come up here and you can pick, say you just want to look at cybersecurity. You can just click on cybersecurity and it gets rid of all the other stuff in the noise. And my favorite part about this tool, and by that I mean not, which is every time I go to this tool, the buttons are in a different place. So every time I demo this, because I teach for a boot camp at the end of the boot camp in IoT, and so I'm always talking to the students about careers and how to find out what you want to do. And I show this tool, and every time I feel like I don't know what I'm talking about because all the dots have changed to different places.
Yeah. So
So
yeah. So CISA, if you're listening, consistency is king.
consistency is good. Um, but you can select particular areas, right? But then if you want to see the whole thing again, you can clear the selection, and it takes you back to the starting position. One of the things that you can do here is, or another way that this is interactive, is if you say, let's pick vulnerability assessment analyst, everybody's favorite job, penetration testing. You can click on this. It will probably give you a pop-up that says, hey, did you know you could compare jobs? And you click, don't show this ever again, and then it won't show it to you. But what'll happen is when you click on that role, it will give you a description of the role over here. So here you have the official title of the role, which is vulnerability assessment analyst. Nobody that I know of has that job title. think of it as like it's a prototype of a role. Down here, they have related functional titles. That's what you'll find people who have that job title, right? So like Blue Team Technician, usually Blue Team Operator, Ethical Hacker, Penetration Tester, Red Team Technician, Red Team Operator. Those are the titles that people actually have, okay? They also give you a link here, see USA job listings. So this ties into USA jobs, so you can go find federal government jobs that are in that role. One of the things that I look at a lot here is you have tasks and KSAs. So tasks are what does this job do on a daily basis? What kind of things do they do, right? So for penetration testing, conduct and or support authorized penetration testing on enterprise network assets. Totally cool. Yes, that's a job. Okay. This is like what are the things that somebody does? And then you have KSAs, which is knowledge. What do you know? Right. So knowledge of computer networking concepts and protocols and network security methodologies, right? So you need to know what networks are, what systems are, and how they operate. Skills are discrete tasks. Okay, so you can perform this function. So for instance, skill in assessing the robustness of security systems and designs. Skill in mimicking threat behavior. That's your adversarial simulation. And then you have abilities, which is to take your knowledge and skills and to synthesize a new outcome, right? So these are more high-level advanced tasks. So able to apply programming language, for example, source code review and logic. Okay. And so you have KSAs, you have capability indicators. So entry level, what would we expect you to be able to do? Intermediate level, what would be your skill set? And then advanced, what would we expect you to do? And these are capable, so that like really this is for assessing people, like what level are you at in that job. Relationships shows you what are the jobs that are related. Of course, they give it to you over here on the left hand side visually. Federal data, which is like how many people are there. Micro challenge will actually give you a little mini capture the flag or a mini task to do, so you can get a feel, like a very high level feel of what it's like to be in that role. Okay, so that's pretty cool. That's basically this, but presented in a way that's actually easier to understand. There's one last trick that you can do with this, which is you can click on any of the other related roles. So let's say system testing and evaluation specialist. That's QA, right? Like that's a QA person. But you can click on that and it will give you a side-by-side comparison in the details, right? So this is the system test and evaluation specialist. And you look down here, you got QA tester, even blue team technician, they cross over. You can see all tasks. So where my vulnerability assessment analyst, there's the title I was looking for. Over here, this is the title of that particular task. And then over here for a system test and evaluation specialist, they shouldn't be doing that. Okay. Like, yeah, there's crossover, there's people in hybrid roles and things like that. But this is a comparison of what does this role do versus this role do. Same with KSAs. What's the difference between these two roles? Okay. So that's pretty cool. There are several different ways. So I'm going to clear this out. There are several different ways that you could use this. Okay. One is I want to be a vulnerability assessment analyst. I want to be a pen tester. So what are the skills that I need? And what are adjacent roles that maybe I could go into and then do like a lateral move, right? So I move into adjacent role, I start acquiring skills, and then I move into that role that I really want to have. Okay. So it can help you do that, a little bit of career planning. You could do it the opposite way, which is I am a system administrator and I want to get into a cybersecurity role. So, what roles are there that are related? And in this case, let me just click this out. You'll see I could be a authorizing official or a DAA, or the designated. What's the DAA? Designated authorization. Oh, I forget. But it's a designated representative, right? So you're somebody who works for the authorizing official to say, basically deals with the day-to-day stuff, where the authorizing official is a signature person. Or you could be a cyber defense infrastructure support specialist. So somebody who builds SIMs and builds protection. Okay. And so you say, yeah, I'm this. What's an adjacent role that I could get into? And that's the second way of using NICE, and the Career Pathways tool. And then the last one is as a CISO, or as a security manager, what roles should I have on my team? And I have this already preceded with tasks and KSAs that can help me to write a job description for somebody in that role. Okay. So I can say, hey, I need to hire a SOC. So let's look at cyber defense analyst. Let's look at, maybe I need a DFIR. So I need some incident response or a CERT. And now I can go through this. And when I get to tasks, I now have a shopping list of tasks that I can start throwing in job descriptions. Okay. So there's three different, and that's the third way to do it. So there are three different ways that you can use the Career Pathways tool, three different ways that you can use NICE. And that's just kind of the limits of my creativity.
Yeah, that's that DAA. I was having flashbacks of DoD, man.
Yeah. And also 837,
The
but it's a
designated
designated
approval.
approving authority. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Well, we used to have to go through that song and dance all the time, yeah,
Yes,
with the DoD. So
of course.
should have been able to recall that very quickly, even though it's been a while.
Yeah. It's been a while. Been a while since I've been doing government GRC.
Well, this is a very cool tool. I like the path that they're going in. And if you get some good use out of the tool, or you think you have some ideas about how it can be used, throw us a comment in there.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah,
interested to hear
definitely.
from you.
Definitely. I also like free stuff from the government, and NIST is awesome at this. They give you free stuff. You have to tailor it for your own use and modify it, but it's one heck of a lot better than building stuff from scratch
Oh yeah.
by far. And it is version 1, right? It's version 1 and it feels very version 1. It still has a lot of use that you can get out of it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this grows over time.
Yeah, definitely.
And it'd
Definitely.
be
And
great to see a commercial offering on there as far as jobs, not just exclusive to USA jobs.
yeah, well, yeah. That would help out too. Um, I think there are some roles that are private sector that the government doesn't see. But like, let's face reality, which is the U.S. government hires more cybersecurity people than anybody else on the planet. Okay, so it being built by the government, mostly for government use, I have no problem with that.
Yeah, we got into some pretty interesting stuff in our day. I'll say that. And
Yeah.
a lot of long, long nights.
Yeah, yeah. Some good engineering work. You got anything else you want to say on this one?
No, no, I think we've
Okay.
pretty much covered this. It'd be really interesting to see what the feedback is on this one.
Yeah. So, having said all that, things that we've gone through today, we did an introduction to the NIST NICE framework. We looked at the framework and how it's structured. We looked at the CISA career pathway tools, which is a visualization of it all, and we discussed some of the ways that you can use it. I'm Mike Smith.
And I'm
Sam
Sam
is Sam,
Schneider.
and I always cut him off. Um, Sam is Ham, and thank you, and we shall see you later.
Talk to you later.